Hi, this is Judy with PQP Stitch Club, and today we're going to talk with Katie Solberg of Pieceful Gathering Quilt Shop to talk about her project in our very first November monthly mini magazine, and it's called The Christmas Wishes Clipboard Mat. Hi, Katie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. So this is my project. I'm really excited to have it in your first digital club format, which is going to be fun and exciting. It's called Christmas Wishes, and it's just a very small, easy to stitch project that I think makes a great Christmas gift. It's also just fun to display around your house. So you can see I'm displaying it on a clipboard, which you don't have to do, but it's an easy way to display it. This clipboard is actually just a basic clipboard that I got, from probably the office supply store. And then we painted it, distressed it a little bit. Let me see if I can kind of show you how that looks.
Cool.
And actually, Judy, you guys at PQP, when you did the photography, put that cute little ribbon on it, which I love. So that kind of ties it all together. Very cute. And you sent it back that way. Woohoo.
Little bonus.
Right. So yeah, a couple of things about the project. I think one of the funnest things about it is the candy canes and the wool that I used there. It's a very specific wool that we do have in the kits, and you have to cut it kind of a special way. So I thought I would give you some close-ups and show you how that works. All right, so this is what that candy cane stripe wool looks like. It's actually more of a chevron, so you kind of get to play with where you place your candy canes. So I always use fusible. The fusible that I use is Wonder Fuse, and because I use fusible, my pattern is already reversed for you. So you will be tracing your shapes, your 3 little candy canes on your fusible, and then you cut them out, just an 1/8 inch or so around the lines. And then when you place them on this wool, first of all, there's 2 sides to this wool. One of them looks like the candy cane stripe. The stripe isn't as defined. So you probably want to make sure that you're fusing onto this side, what I would call the back, so that you see your candy cane stripes. The other thing about this wool is you can see the lines move in this direction and that direction. So you want your candy canes to be placed so that they don't you don't really want them like that where the lines would be all which way. You want to kind of line them up in those columns so that you get your stripes going on a nice diagonal. So just when you turn it over, you can kind of see where that line is too. So you'll just be careful that you place your candy canes kind of going up and down along the stripe. And then you'll fuse them like that. And then when you cut them out, you'll get your cute little candy cane stripes there. So yeah, that's kind of a fun wool. I love that wool. And I was excited that we were able to get just a little bit more of it to make a few more kits for this project.
Excellent. Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
If someone used a different type of fusible, is it possible that you wouldn't, that the pattern, they would have to reverse the way the template is?
I suppose if you're not using fusible at all, like if you were
Uh-huh.
going to use a freezer paper method,
Okay.
um, the candy canes they don't really matter. This is such a free-form project. I reversed the shapes just because I know some people are very particular. They want the biggest one spinning this way instead of that way. But in my opinion, they're candy canes. They can go any which way, and they're just in this primitive little vessel. So I don't think it's too big of a deal which way they go personally. But they are reversed for those of you that are really particular and want it to go just like the way it is. Did that
Okay.
answer
Good
your
point.
question?
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Great.
right. So the other thing I wanted to point out was a product that I like to use when I'm doing wool applique is my applique pressing sheet. I just think it makes lining everything up a lot easier. This isn't a super complex project, but you can see how this tool is going to be especially helpful in wool applique projects that have a lot more pieces and parts. So what this product does, and there's a number of these on the market. The one I use, I'll just show you the packaging. It's a very basic, it's been around for 100 years. You can probably tell from the packaging, the packaging looks like it's from about the 90s. But this is just the applique pressing sheet. And I've had mine since I started doing wool applique 15 years ago. So they last a long time too. But it's just sort of a silicone mat that you can press your pieces on. And what you do is you wait for them to cool and then you can peel them all back up. So what you're doing is taking the pieces and parts and assembling them together, excuse me, into larger units. So for example, I've got here the candy canes and the little crock that they're in, the jar that they're in. And the other nice thing about this sheet is it's sort of translucent. So underneath it, I put my pattern layout sheet. So I set that under there. And I don't know if you can see on the camera that I can see through the sheet, but I can see my pattern pieces under here. So I'll just take these candy canes and I'll put them right on top of where they are showing through the pattern. And then I might even take my hot iron and just set it on there for a couple seconds so that now what's going to happen is they're going to stick to the applique pressing sheet. All right, now I'm going to take my next parts that are on top of that, which would be the bottom of the jar, and I'm going to line it up using the the sheet that's below there and the little top of the jar. And I'll just get them lined up just right. And I've got my pattern layout underneath so that I know they're in the right place. And I'll fuse it again. I might even use a little steam this time. I use lots of steam when I'm fusing because it really helps everything fuse much better. So I'll give that a second. Okay, now the fun part is you kind of have to let it cool for a minute, but these are all stuck together. And I'm kind of trying to get it to cool just a little bit there because you do want to, if you peel it up too quickly, you'll lose your fusible. But if you wait for it to cool, then you can carefully peel this shape up. And my candy canes and my jar are all one unit now. So now they're one unit. They also still have the fusible on the back. So when I take it to my background, I have less pieces to futz with and get in the right place because this unit has already been assembled into one shape. So I think it's just fun. And you could do that. You could also, if I was doing this, I would probably go even further and I'd put the vines on behind it and maybe the leaves so that I was kind of building that all up into one large piece using my pattern template. So that's kind of my fun tip on that.
That's great. Boy, I wish I would have known about that years ago. I struggled and just kind of messed things around and mess them up. That's nice.
You know, and that's fine too, especially on a project like this where it's supposed to be yours and it's supposed to be freeform. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine. But sometimes there are certain projects that are more like you want to get everything exactly in the right place. So this is helpful. I thought I would also just point out a few of the different stitches I used on here. Mostly I just use a buttonhole stitch to stitch everything down, and I tend to use matching thread colors. I did though, because those stems were so small, I did a chain stitch just right through the middle of the brown stems. And I think that's got kind of a fun look. And then I did a buttonhole wheel. That's what I call it. I don't even know if that's really what it's called, but it's basically a buttonhole around a circle that all goes right into the center and it looks like a wheel. So I call it a buttonhole wheel.
Perfect.
And I did that on those cute little berries. I also did a stem stitch on the leaves. And then to embellish the star, I just did some big straight stitches from each point into the center and added a French knot. So that's all the stitching on it. It's a pretty basic project, easy to make.
Yeah.
So is there anything else I can explain about it, Judy?
That is very simple. Would you be able to demonstrate those different stitches?
Right. So I thought I'd show you here. This is how I do the chain stitch. And I know everybody does their stitches in a different way. So I'm going to show you the way that I do mine. What I do is in the project, again, just to kind of reiterate, I used the chain stitch on these branches. So there was no need to draw a line because I had a perfect line to follow. I just stitched right through the middle of that little tiny branch. But on my sample here, I'm going to just follow the line of the plaid just to give me something to follow. And if you didn't have a line, you could easily draw one with your favorite marking tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up from the bottom and I'm going to go back in right next to where I came up. Can't go in the same hole or you'll pop it right back out the other direction. And notice I flipped my thread around and I'm holding it with my left thumb. And that's so that when I do this stitch, I'm gonna go in and come up just about a quarter of an inch away down my line. But I wanna catch that under my thread so that it forms that cute little loop. And it's kind of like you're making a lazy daisy with just one little petal. Now to keep it going in the chain, I'm going to flip the thread around and hold it there with my thumb again. And I'm going to go back in about where I came up. And I'm on the inside of that loop I just made. And then again, come up about a quarter of an inch up the line and make sure that I catch my thread underneath. And you can see how it's just making these cute little loops that will become a chain. And you can vary the size of it. On this project, that stem's pretty little, so I did the chains probably a little bit smaller. And to do that, you just make your stitches a little closer together. So this is one if you want to play with it on some scrap first, so that you can practice it and decide the look that you want. And then just be consistent as you go. Try to keep those stitches the same width apart. And then it looks like so. And don't pull them too tight. I just pulled that last one kind of tight, but when you come up, don't pull that thread too tight or you won't get a nice loop. You'll get more of a straight line. All right, so that is the chain stitch. The next thing I think I will show you is a stem stitch. Now I did a stem stitch in the center of all of the little holly leaves there. And for stem stitch, I do like to have a line to follow. I know this is really a small one, so I probably didn't put a line, but I probably should have. I just think having a line to follow when you're doing a stem stitch makes it much neater and it works better for me that way. So for today, I'm gonna just do another little green stem stitch here. And I think I'll just follow, again, one of the lines on the plaid, just so you can kind of see in this demonstration. So for the stem stitch, for me, starting it is always the hardest, and I gotta think about this for a minute. What you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna come up where your stem's gonna start, and then you're gonna put your needle in, kind of go down about a quarter of an inch, and you're gonna come back up. I like to come up kind of past where I started, just to get it started this way, and pull that. So there's my first stitch. Now I'm going to pull the thread. I'm going to hold it again with my left hand kind of out of the way. And I'm going to travel farther down that line and go in about a quarter of an inch down. And this time I want to come up in the middle of that last stitch and on the right side of it. All right, so I'm kind of holding that stitch there. You can see how my needle's kind of on the side of it. And again, everybody does stitches differently. This is how I do a stem stitch, but I'm sure other people do it a different way. And again, so now I'm going to travel down about a quarter of an inch. I'm going to come back up in the middle of that last stitch. And I have to continue to hold this thread over to the side because that's what's going to keep them all kind of laying in the same direction. So that goes there. And they kind of build up on each other and create a nice little stem. Now the stitches I'm doing right now are a little bit larger and work great for a straight stem. If you end up having to go around a curve, you're definitely going to want to make your stitches smaller. If your stitches are too large as you go around a curve, you'll see each of the individual stitches. So shorten up your stitch length when you curve. Let's see if I can try to show that. There aren't any curves in this project, so it makes it pretty nice and easy, but you'll definitely run into some curves at some time, I'm sure. So that's how you go around a curve then. Just make your stitches a little smaller and closer together as you turn. When you get to the end, I usually just go down at the end of my last stitch, and then I will do a couple stitches in place on the back to hold it. So there is my stem stitch. All right, and the last stitch I thought I would show you is just a basic buttonhole stitch. Again, everyone does it different, but here's the way that I do it. And to demonstrate, I'm gonna go just around this shape here, and I'm gonna use a green thread because it'll stand out and you'll be able to see it. In the project, I of course used a matching thread color, so it blends in a little better. But what I do is I come up, I'm gonna start farther down so you can see the curve. I come up in the background, so right next to my applique shape. And then for this first stitch, I'm going to come into the shape about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, depending on what size I want my stitches to be. And I'm going to come up right where I started, just for this very first stitch. And that's going to get me started. And now I'm ready to travel. So now I'm going to move my needle over about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch and in that same amount. I'm going to go in the back into the applique shape and come up in the background. And notice again, I flipped my thread over there and caught it with my left thumb. And I'm holding that down because I want to make sure that that thread gets caught under the needle, because that's what's going to hold it along the edge. So now it's traveling along the edge there. Okay, if you miss it, if you leave this over here and do your stitch, which it happens, it'll look funky like that. So that didn't work. But you can always just kind of go back and catch that thread there and then loosen it a little bit and pull it so that it works. But again, it's best if you try to catch that thread over there with your thumb. You're going to go into the shape, come up in the background. All right. Now this isn't a real pointy edge, but if this was a pointy corner, I might even go ahead and tack that down, because what I don't like is when the buttonhole flips up over the point of the corner. So we'll pretend this is an extra pointy corner. And I would do a tack stitch there just to kind of tack it in place. I'd go down and come right back up in the same spot. And now I'm ready to turn my corner, so to speak, and go in the other direction. Okay, and I think the buttonhole stitch, it doesn't matter what size you do it in. I think what's most important is that you are consistent. So, if it's a smaller piece that I'm stitching down, I will usually do a smaller stitch size. And if it's a bigger piece and I really want the stitches to show, I might do a larger stitch. But do a little practice first and kind of get warmed up, and then just be consistent with your stitch size as you go. And of course, if you're doing it in a matching thread color, it blends in nicely. So people aren't going to notice any imperfections that much anyways. So then when you get to the end, I will just go down right where that stitch ended. And then I'll do a couple stitches in place on the back to sort of end it. You can put a knot in the back, but sometimes if you're working on a thinner wool or cotton, you don't want that knot or that lump. So if you just do 2 stitches in place like that and pull it tight, it's not going to go anywhere anyways. And that's it. There's my buttonhole stitch.
Okay. Wow, that was really cool, Katie. Thank you. So if our viewers would like to learn more about you or buy the kits or anything, what would you like for them to know?
So we have kits for this project are on our website now, or in the shop, of course. We do have a brick and mortar shop, Pieceful Gathering, and it's located in Fox River Grove, Illinois, which is just northwest of Chicago. So if you're ever in the Chicago area, come out and visit us. We have a lovely shop, at least I think so. But if you're not nearby, you can, of course, go to our website. We have all of our products are on our website, and we do have, this is our Christmas Wishes kit, which we just got up the other day. It is available for $22.99, and that does include that really fun candy cane striped wool. It's also got your flannel backing in there. So everything you need is in there, except for, of course, the pattern, which is in your PQP membership, and the threads. So we do also have a thread kit. We love our Valdani thread here at Pieceful Gathering. So this is a Valdani thread kit that has the 4 colors that I used. And that's available on our website as well. It's the Christmas Wishes thread kit for $22.99 also. And then, of course, visit our website. It's piecefulgathering.com. We also have a great Facebook page. Just look up Pieceful Gathering on Facebook and you'll find us. And we do Facebook Live demos about every other Thursday. It's not always consistent because there's holidays and things come up. but look for us on Thursday mornings at 10:30 Central Time. That's when we do our Facebook Live demos, and they're a lot of fun. We show everything that's new in the shop. We usually have like 8 to 10 brand new projects that are stitched up, and we have samples of them that we love to show off and answer questions about. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on at Peaceful Gathering. We do retreats too. So if you ever are looking to travel and go to a fun retreat, we do one in the spring. We have one coming up in March that Julie Letvin is leading this year. So that'll be a fun and exciting opportunity to come hang with us and learn something new. And yeah, that's about everything going on at Peaceful Gathering right now.
Fantastic. It sounds so fun. I I need to attend one of your Facebook Live events because I hear they're really fun. I've seen little snippets and I feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Katie, thank you so much for your time and showing us how to make this cool little project. I hope lots of people make it and send us pictures. And I guess that's about it. So thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you so much for having me. It's been fun to show it off. So thank you as well.
It has been. Thanks. Take care.